Russia will bomb London first in World War III, says Russian TV propagandist as he rails against West and claims, it's clear the threat to the world comes from the Anglo-Saxons. The Kremlin's propaganda machine has warned that London would be the first city bombed if a world war broke out in Russia's latest saber-rattling against the West. Andriy Gurylyov, a State Duma politician who is a close ally of Vladimir Putin, made the threat to Britain on the state-run Rossiya 1 channel. The doomsday warnings come amid renewed fears of the Ukraine war escalating into a global conflict due to NATO member Lithuania blocking sanctioned goods to the Russian exclave of Kaliningrad. Gurylyov said the only way to prevent the blockade in a Russian invasion of NATO countries, which would trigger Clause 5 and likely spark World War III. He said, "We'll destroy the entire group of enemy space satellites during the first air operation. No one will care if they are American or British, we would see them all as NATO. Second, we'll mitigate the entire system of anti-missile defense everywhere and 100%. Third, we certainly won't start from Warsaw, Paris, or Berlin. The first to be hit will be London." The 54-year-old, who is a member of Russian Parliament's Defense Committee, added, "It's crystal clear that the threat to the world comes from the Anglo-Saxons. As part of the operation to destroy critically important sites, Western Europe will be cut off from power supplies and immobilized. All power supply sites will be destroyed. And in the third stage, I shall see what the USA will tell Western Europe on continuing their fight in the cold without food and electricity. I wonder how they, the US, will manage to stay aside. This is the rough plan, and I deliberately leave out certain moments because they are not to be discussed on TV." The general dismissed plans advocated by other Russian experts to snatch a corridor through Lithuania to supply Kaliningrad, which is wedged between NATO states Poland and Lithuania. The so-called Suwalkowski corridor is from Belarus to Lithuania. He sees such a strategy as a Western trap because Putin's army would be flanked on two sides by NATO troops. "It's the desire of our Western partners that we clear the Suwalkowski corridor," he said. "If you look at the map, it would be a big mistake from our side to make the corridor just to end up with NATO troops to the right and left. And we also need to pull Belarus into this. Let's look at the map." His strategy is to revert Lithuanian capital back to its former identity as Vilnius and Estonian capital Tallinn back to its Tsarist identity as Reval. We calmly turn Vilnius back into Vilno, remind ourselves what is Reval, the Tsarist name for Tallinn, and free up the right Baltic flank, so we don't worry that we can be hit from the back, he told State TV. From the military point of view, it is impossible to get a clear corridor through Lithuania, he said. But if the West decides to block the Kaliningrad region, a decision to carry out a strategic operation to unblock it will be taken. But as a serviceman, I clearly understand that no one will bother with just doing a corridor. If we start working, we will work properly. Everything will be cleared out, because why leave enemies behind your back? Gurylyov is a former deputy commander of Russia's southern military district. He served with Russian forces in Syria. He has been sanctioned by the US for his close links to Putin. In February, he was allegedly overheard on an intercepted call, ordering subordinates to burn the homes of Ukrainians after throwing out families into the street. Such action would be a war crime.